My name is Ahmed Badr.
My name is Sri Murad.
I'm Maria.
My name is Miguel.
I'm Maya Carp. I'm Isabel.
I'm Casey Smith.
I'm Willa.
I'm Emily.
So this summer, I was interested in looking at the idea of collective trauma in Jordan, especially in refugee camps. So I worked at 2 different refugee camps and did psychosocial support, primarily through art therapy in Zarqa refugee camp.
I spent 6 weeks this summer working in Boise, Idaho, at this humanitarian aid nonprofit called the International Rescue Committee, commonly known as the IRC.
So we were in Jordan. We were living in Amman. We were working at Zatari, which is the biggest camp, and we were working for a psychology center that dealt with trauma for women, sexual health for women, and getting women more involved in education in the camps.
So I worked as an intern at the State Department in the Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration, serving as acting program officer for Central America, Latin America, and the Caribbean.
In July, I went to Greece to volunteer with the whole ongoing Syrian refugee crisis. We wanted to do some sort of entertaining activities for the refugee children that were in Piraeus.
I have a mosque in Bloomfield, and our mosque, with about 5 to 6 other religious institutions, including a synagogue and many churches, sponsored a family. We took care of them, we taught them English, we brought them to the hospital, took care of all of their needs, and we're continuing that sponsorship.
So about a year and a half ago, I founded an organization called Narratio, and what we do is we publish poetry, art, photography, and stories of youth from all over the world. And what we do is we take the works that are submitted to our website and turn them into booklets. And then using these booklets, we do workshops with local youth. And the first workshop we did was with African refugee youth in the Houston area.
Since a refugee gets to a country until they get their refugee card, and they are like assigned to a certain official camp, like some months can pass by.
Camps are all so different. There are like 17 camps in Jordan, I think, and some of them are cities pretty much, and some of them are what you would imagine a camp would be like, with the gates all the way around it.
There's just so many people there. It's kind of like small cities. It's a really temporary solution to a really long-term problem, and the conditions these people are living under shouldn't be this way. It's really, really interesting to see how much they've grown in the last few years, especially with the really limited resources they have access to. But these people have built entire economies for themselves to sustain themselves. Not that it's not enough for them, but.
So we learned sort of a lot about what it's like to be a woman living in a refugee camp.
There's a lot of sexual harassment and rape going on in the camps, and there was a lot of conversations about that, and also single mothers who were there without their children.
I think it was really meaningful to hear about all the children's experience with school and how their education is being completely stopped because they're refugees. A lot of them don't go to school because it's too far away, or they experience such intense racism once they're there that they don't learn anything or refuse to go. And that's after all of the issues with that they're going through from the countries that they're coming from, in terms of their schools being bombed before they even got to Jordan in the first place.
Also, the place we worked for is the first place that's been taking kids over the border by themselves without any family, and their family might be in Turkey or Greece, and that was really intense and really important.
Where we would be teaching them how to say, like, my birthday is this day or whatever, and we'd be like, okay, so like, when's your birthday? And so many of them were just like, I don't know.
During the day, I don't know, especially with the children, we'd go, we'd take them to the playground, which was like very close. We'd stay there for 3 hours, and the amount of parents that, not in like a very, they would never say anything, they would never like be aggressive about it or anything like that, but just the parents that as soon as we came there with our children, they would kind of just take their children a little bit to the side, and that was just baffled me because these were children.
The media is manipulating the way that Muslim people are seen, like the portrayal and the depictions that are made of them are completely misleading, and from my point of view is something done on purpose. And because economically, like Western countries and Western societies, they don't really want refugees in. It's always nice to say that we are like European and we're always willing to reach out for people, but when they actually have to prove it, that's when they don't want to.
In Germany, Germany is a very developed country, very open-minded generally, but this sort of xenophobia is just inherent.
What's happening now is that when you hear the word refugee, or you hear the word Muslim, or you hear, it's almost like this abstract concept, and we're constantly fed these images of a refugee or of a Muslim. And I think the one thing that I've learned about people and refugees is that they just want to be heard. They just want to, be talked about in the most humane way. And I don't think we should alienate individuals simply because they've, left their homeland and are seeking a new one.
I got to sort of be in the room when a lot of State Department and Homeland Security officials were just hashing out like all the details. And it was really, I think, motivating for me to see, as someone who's usually pretty critical of the government and likes to advocate and work and talk about how things should be better, I was really, I think, blown away by the amount of work that, officials are doing to expand these programs and make them better. And
The processes of and different steps that it takes for someone to be able to file themselves as a refugee with the United States government. Process of getting then takes years and lots of interviews and stories that have to match up, and it can be really complicated. And for a person, it's already a 12-step vetting process for refugees, but for a person coming from the Middle East in that region, it's a 20-step process because of security concerns. So it can take years and years and years for people to come here.
In the US, we often associate refugees with Syria, and we associate sort of immigration issues with Latin America, Central America. But I really think I learned more about how those issues are connected and how there's a need definitely to synthesize refugee policies and refugee principles with how the US approaches immigration more broadly.
I think more countries need to step up and kind of understand that whilst economically it might not be ideal for them, or the most beneficial, but in the current situation which the world is in, I think we have to look beyond what is beneficial, what is economically advantageous, and understand that these are just real people who have been uprooted.
They're really just people that are going through a really hard time, and just have compassion and understand their situation. And yeah,
We came over as refugees in 2008, and over the past 8 years or so, I've kind of seen the opportunities that are around us, and it's been incredible to realize the different ways that I can empower myself and those around me.
To simply vocalize to people in government and their higher ups that this is an important this is an important issue to me, and I want our country to be dealing with it, and I think we should take refugee, just to make it a big deal and to push it as just as important of an issue as anything else we're talking about.
Yeah, the average person in the state of Connecticut or in America, it could help by just being involved in helping refugees. There's so many opportunities in the state of Connecticut through IRIS and also through Catholic Charities. I mean, any aspect that you can think of, if you were a new person in another foreign country, they need that help. And if you can provide a simple skill as teaching them how to buy some groceries from the grocery store, that would go a long way to their life in America.
It's just because governments or politicians are not doing the right thing, that doesn't give us the right to just lay on the couch and not do anything about this.
It was very striking to see how vocal people who oppose refugee resettlement can be. One of my first tasks as an intern was to read all the public comments that people had submitted about the resettlement program in 2016. And there was hundreds and hundreds of comments that people had submitted, but only a handful of them were from people who actually supported the program. People who support refugees are a lot quieter than the people who don't, and that people who want to support refugees should be just as vocal, if not more, way more vocal, than people who are opposed.
When Dauda, who was a caseworker at the IRC, and he had lived in the US, he was a refugee himself from the Congo, but he had lived in Kenya before he got to the United States. He had been separated from his immediate family for 16 years. So the airport pickup, and everyone from the office was there with signs like welcoming Dauda's family. And his whole like Congolese community in Boise was there. It was amazing. They like arrived in this massive van packed with people, all excited to meet someone they hadn't ever met and didn't know, but had heard so much about. And his daughter came, and you know, when he had last seen her, she was like 16, and when he saw her, she was a full-grown woman, and she had kids. So he got to see his grandkids, and there were a lot of tears, but a lot of joy too.
We're talking with a girl named Emmy about her experience. She was from Rwanda, and just seeing her face light up as we distributed those booklets and as we did the workshop and as we worked with the youth, she said something that was really incredible, in that, you know, where you come from does not determine where you're going to end up. And that was one of the moments that, you know, I kind of had to step back and think, wow, you know, you're right, and this is exactly why we're doing this type of work, and this is why, you know, more of this work needs to be done.